Water is a critical resource that covers 71% of the Earth's surface. Out of 99.8% of Earth's water supply, about 0.5% of fresh water is available for human consumption. If the Earth's water supply was 26 gallons, this would satisfy 2.2 million gallons of water per person. To provide usable water, the U.S. uses aquifer wells, pipelines, dams and levees, and desalination. Aquifers are geological formations of porous rock that act as groundwater storage units from which water is distributed for domestic, agriculture, and industry. Increasing demand for water has resulted in aquifers being pumped faster than they can recharge. Aquifer depletion can lower water tables, which can result in the rate of water yielded to reach a point of no return. Excessive pumping disrupts aquifers' natural discharge-recharge flow. Aquifers will then draw from nearby sources to match its recharge rate with the pumping rate. This can drain the source past the point riparian systems can survive. Levees, according to FEMA, are man-made structures designed and constructed to contain, control, or divert the flow of water to provide protection from temporary flooding. Levees have allowed people to build on land that previously would have been avoided due to flooding. However, this only proves to be a temporary measure against worse damage should the levee weaken or overflow. Steward Daniel Braunstein from the Anacostia Watershed Society adds that though flooding may be paused upstream, it can still be increased downstream with the construction of a levee. Energy derives from the sun. It can be found in flora, fauna, humans, Earth's fossil fuels, and natural fuels. In the U.S., we gather energy from primary sources such as oil, gas, coal, nuclear energy, and renewable energy, and secondary sources, electricity. A report from the PetroChina Research Institute states that due to increased energy demands and advent for low-carbon society and the progress of science and technology, the Earth's third revolution from traditional fossil fuels such as natural gas to new energy such as biomass is inevitable. Oil and natural gas is an energy resource responsible for the second energy transformation with rapid growth since 1965. It is formed primarily from dead marine organisms settled at the sea floor. Its unconventional forms can be extracted from coal, tar pits, or shales. While this resource is a heavy supplier for electricity in industrial and residential sectors, it is also a contributor to carbon and nitrogen emissions, acid rain, and smog. This can contaminate aquifer wells and surface water replenished by rain. Biomass is everywhere. It exists within plant material, forestry waste, mill residue, and animal waste. Globally, it accounts for 11% of primary energy and 5.2 BTU in the U.S. in 2019. Some advanced biomass technologies are ethanol and biodiesel fluid. This method of renewable energy can decrease pollutant emissions, restore soil nutrients naturally, be applied in most conventional engines, and stabilize land threatened by erosion. However, the development of new technology is intensive and low, but as more fossil fuels deplete, other new energy is rapidly developing. Waste is often viewed as an unvaluable byproduct of extraction, manufacturing, or usage. Due to a faster accumulation of waste than disposal or repurposing of waste in developing nations, we have moved from a dilute and disperse approach to a collect, remove, concentrate, contain, and waste as valuable approach. The major forms of waste are biowaste, municipal solid waste, MSW, hazardous waste, water waste, and e-waste, the dominant two being MSW and hazardous waste. Municipal solid waste, MSW, is the assortment of waste generated wherever humans dwell. In the U.S., majority of our waste is a result of excessive consumerism that produces pre-consumer and post-consumer waste. A BMC article from S.A. Abbasi reports that since over half of MSWs are biodegradable, they are viewed as a considerable reservoir for renewable energy. Processes such as the recycling of common metals has proved to cost much less energy than initial production. Practically speaking, its current profitability does not outweigh the cost-effective methods of incineration, which secretes several toxins into human food and airways, and recycling. Hazardous waste can only be discarded or incinerated. It is a loose categorization of toxified waste from other waste or waste processes. HW is often a result of mismanaged waste systems and can be found in illegal dumping grounds near residential areas, on roadsides, and in waterways. The World Health Organization, along with several other investigations, found that these acts of waste mismanagement are a large contributor to soil and groundwater contamination globally. While researchers have yet to prove that hazardous waste is linked to cancer, the US EPA and the WHO have discovered that there is a correlation between landfills with hazardous waste, neural tube birth defects, and low birth weights. The closer residentials are to hazardous waste, the more likely disease and poisoning is to occur from food, air, and water contamination. Earth is finite. Already a third of this planet's resources has been devoured due to overconsumption, overpopulation, deforestation, and more. By 2050, the human population is projected to reach approximately 9 to 10 billion. As the Earth's populace grows, so does the demand on its resources. U.S. National Intelligence Council reports that according to the United Nations Environment Program, the consumption of minerals, fossil fuels, and biomass will continue to triple from 2013 to 2050 as the demand for water increases by 50% over the same period. Changing an entire world is a difficult task, so I started at home. While monitoring my use of domestic resources, I noted actions already taken within the household to lower resource consumption or improve waste output. About once every 50 days, we use an alkaline water filter to fill 12 one-gallon bottles of water that are stored and used for drinking. My parents and I also set timers when using the shower or brushing our teeth, as well as selling, handing down, or giving away clothes we no longer use. When observing my water usage, I found that a timer proves ineffective if I'm scrolling through the web for 20 minutes before I get into the shower while the water is still running. On the second day of my observations, the shower ran for a total of 30 minutes, which according to the Bureau of Reclamation California, is about 150 gallons of water. For this reason, I decided to use a real timer and keep my electronics out of the bathroom in addition to lessening my showers to 8 to 10 minutes. Additionally, though only used once within the 2 days of observation, the dishwasher's frequency per week was excessive. To lower the rate of frequency, it was decided that more dishes would be hand-washed. Monitoring my waste output led to the discovery of my habit to use more paper product than needed, piling my plate with food I can only eat half of, and throwing away clothes I deemed too worn out for any use. An article from Minnesota Tap and another from The World Counts informed me that paper mills use approximately 17,000 gallons per ton of paper. A single kilo of paper uses almost 2 to 3 times its own weight in trees. If everyone used 200 kilos of paper per year, trees would cease to exist. According to the WWF, 20,000 liters of water is used for 1 kilogram of cotton, the equivalent of 1 t-shirt. I decided to set up a goal to use less paper products by finding alternative materials that can be constantly used before wash or throw away. I also decided to find a way to repurpose the clothes I initially deemed unusable. When monitoring my energy consumption, I noticed the heavy use of space temperature control appliances such as AC, spatial heating, ceiling fans, and electric fireplaces. Due to the COVID pandemic, long hours of computer usage and mobile device charging followed suit. The U.S. Energy Information Administration explained that 51% of residential end-use consumption on an annual basis since 2015 is shared by space heating and air conditioning. Being a household of 3, space heating alone eats about 38 million BTU per year, with the majority of its energy being sourced from natural gas. Air conditioning is about 7 million BTU sourced from electricity. We were more worried about breathing in hours of heated natural gas than hours of blue light in our eyes, but actions were taken towards both. For computers, it was recommended that we fully shut them down and any related devices or equipment, as idle electronics equal an annual output of 12 power plants. For heating and AC, we set up a list of rules that designated what and when each appliance could be used. In my quest to reduce water consumption, I disciplined myself to shorten my showers and try hand washing more dishes to lower the frequency of dishwasher usage. My showering escapades were fruitful. On both days, I stayed within the timed margin of 5 to 10 minutes thanks to replacing my cell phone with an actual timer. This made me more conscious about how long I was spending in the shower, as the distractions of music and YouTube were no longer present. The dishwashing adventure could have been better. Despite setting up a reminder to hand wash the dishes, we still ended up using the dishwasher due to fears about the sanitation of plastic Tupperware with hand washing alone. While my water usage during these trials did lower, I noticed how the length of time we use the water does not match the length of time we let it run. Sadly, I do not plan on taking cold showers anytime soon. My goal for waste was to reduce my paper product usage. To do this, I left notes with reminders in areas I frequent most around the house. I also made sure to fill my plate with a reasonable amount of food, since I equate the amount of food on my plate to how many napkins I think I need. Day 2 proved successful. I was able to reduce my paper usage and remain relatively aware of how much I was using. There were some points where I forgot and did use a paper towel though. However, day 1 was a failure. I ended up using 7 napkins and 20 paper towels due to a Martinelli's bottle erupting after I opened it. My goal may have not been accomplished, but day 2 showed me that self-control starts with knowing how I think. Breaking habits is not easy, so in the future, I will try to place hand towels closer to the sink than the paper towels. For energy, my goal was to manage how many appliances we used at once and for how long. The rules we set up for AC and space heating proved to be ineffective. The house balances temperature at 2 extremes, where one end is properly warmed while the other is freezing. We used the heating and fireplaces simultaneously to even the heat spread, but waited until evening to do so. Managing computer usage was much easier. We were all able to remember to shut down our computers and only charge other devices when battery points reached below 10 or 20%. As an extra step, I shut off the power strips all my devices were connected to. Through this trial, I learned that it is better to only use a device when it is actually needed. When not in use, do not wait for the auto shutdown. Simply flip the switch yourself. My quantitative data shows that while not all my trials were successful, there were still significant improvements to my rate of consumption. My qualitative data compares how I felt before and after the trials when recording my consumption. Hand washing several dishes per day is not preferable as it creates clutter and the drying rack is not large enough for the amount of dishes we go through. I still plan to continue using a timer when I shower, but if I use my phone, I will only listen to music instead of YouTube videos. I plan to get a filter to store bottles of drinking water like I do at home. I will also be hand washing more of my own dishes since I would be the main user, meaning less work. While my methods were effective for me, they weren't so much for my parents. We all agreed that it's best to check for leaks, or like what I do, store bottles of collected water so that the tap doesn't run too long when you're looking for a drink. My county enforces some of these methods as a part of the Permanent Residential Water Conservation for Unincorporated Areas Ordinance established in 2015 for mandatory conservation measures. Other programs were later introduced, such as the private well meter program that offers rebates to county residents for making efforts towards water sustainability. For waste, I do plan to continue all the methods utilized in my trial. The monitorization of MSW waste and food waste was non-disruptive to our household, and learning how to upcycle old clothes was really fun. In the future, I will purchase a compost bin for food waste and its associated companions. My parents and I also plan to find better methods to dispose of our e-waste. Currently, we are collecting it and researching facilities that will repurpose or dispose of it in an environmentally safe way. From this project, I've learned that a good way to reduce your waste is by taking better care of your property. Clean, fix, reuse, or recharge what you already have. If you still plan to throw it away, then give it to a repurposing center, because leftover materials can still be used. Our county's Recycling and Waste Reduction Division oversees and administers 2 programs. The Household Hazardous Waste Program for free drop-off of hazardous waste at facilities and events, and the Integrated Waste Management Program that acts as an administrator for a series of county-wide programs. Out of all the resources that surround my daily life, saving energy was the hardest during this pandemic. Until we can fix our home's temperature imbalance, the rules put in place will be ineffective. We plan to get this done as soon as possible, but in the future, I plan to get it done immediately. In addition, whether at home or in the dorms, I will be implementing reminders about turning off all power, active or idle, when I leave my room or a device is no longer in use. As our campus advertises, the use of LED lights, power strips, and unplugging idle devices are a great way to save energy. If you don't need the light, turn it off, but stop reading in the dark. To To combat energy consumption, my county has implemented several code of ordinances that cover a plan that implement and promote the utilization of renewable energy and energy conservation technologies, such as the Municipal Solar Utility Program, since the 80s. The county currently holds several workshops about the benefits of energy upgrades and the receival of rebates for energy-saving improvements. This project has been very informative and implores me to keep my eyes opened about where my resources are going and how they're being used in my community and the world. I'm happy my glasses are no longer rose. Thank you.